Christians call him, Lord or God or Jehovah. Jehovah being the Latinized, anglicized version of Yahweh. It's not even known. Jehovah's Witnesses will say, no, yeah, the name of God is Jehovah, but nobody really knows because in ancient Hebrew the vowels were left out of the words, so nobody knows exactly how to spell Jehovah or even Yahweh. I mean, as far as I know. So it could be Jehovah, But if you ask a Jehovah's Witness, of course, they have been dogmatically brainwashed to believe that their teachings are 100% right. So it's Jehovah. But anyway, I'm just digressing here. Another interesting point, talking about here I go again digressing, but yeah, I'll get to my point eventually. Jehovah's Witnesses are adamant that Jesus Christ was not crucified on a cross, right? He was impaled on an upright stake, right? No cross, just an upright stake. They insisted that is 100% canon, 100% true. And the fact of the matter is, I looked into this, the fact of the matter is the Romans used to impale people on all kinds of different shapes of torture devices. They used crosses, they used T shapes, they used X's, and upright stakes. And no one knows for sure which one Jesus, if there ever was a Jesus, so on and so forth. Again, fairy tales. But if you believe that sort of thing, no one knows for sure, decisively, absolutely 100%, whether Jesus was impaled on an upright stake, a cross, could have been a T, could have been an X shape. But again, if you ask a Jehovah's Witness, no, it was absolutely an upright stake, upright stick. Okay, whatever. Anyway, I'm just going on here. But getting back to the book of Genesis, and I'm using the word God. I'm going to try not to use the word God because I don't know who God is, and I've never met him personally, and neither have you or anyone else. So I'll use the word Jehovah. Okay, Jehovah is the quote-unquote God of the Bible. So Jehovah creates Adam and Eve and tells them not to eat from the tree of the knowledge of good and bad, and they disobey him. Well, before they disobey him, he tells them the punishment will be death. He says, if you eat, Adam and Eve were supposedly going to live forever. Jehovah tells them, look, if you eat from the tree of knowledge, you will positively die. And then, of course, Satan, the snake, slithers up to Eve and says, no, you positively will not die, which is something else that's kind of intrigued me. Here's Eve and Adam. They're in the garden. They see all these animals. None of the animals talk to them, right? It's only Adam and Eve and Jehovah who talk to each other. All of a sudden, a snake slithers up to Eve and starts a conversation. He's like, hey, how's it going? Oh, yeah. So did God tell you not to eat from that tree? Yeah, we're not supposed to eat. Wouldn't her first reaction be, holy shit, it's a talking snake? Wouldn't she run to Adam and go, hey, Adam, check this out, it's a talking snake? No, it's nothing. It's like, hey, how you doing? Yeah. Anyway, that's another digression, but back to my point. So the snake, slithers up to Eve, and apparently that doesn't faze her at all. Starts talking to her. Apparently doesn't faze her at all. Convinces her to eat from the tree. And Jehovah told Adam and Eve, look, if you eat from this tree, you will die. That's your punishment, right? Okay. So Adam and Eve eat from the tree. Now they're going to die. They're not going to live forever. They're not going to die on that day. Adam and Eve lived to be something like 800, 900 years old, but they die eventually. Now my question is, why the deal was you eat from this tree and you die. That's the punishment, right? You don't get to live forever, right? Your eternal life has been revoked. That's the punishment. That's what Jehovah told them from the outset. You will die. You eat from this tree, you will die. But then after they eat from the tree, he says, okay, you're going to die. But also, I'm cursing the ground on your account. Jehovah says, cursed is the ground on your account. And from the sweat of your brow you will eat your daily bread. He tells Adam. So the ground is now cursed. Jehovah has cursed the ground to produce. He says something like, I don't remember the exact words, but it will produce thorns. You will work the ground all day. You will plow and till, and it will produce thorns and thistles. So basically, he's sentencing Adam to a lifetime of agony, of labor, of brutal, hard labor with hardly any rewards, any fruits. It will produce thorns and thistles. You'll be lucky, to get anything out of it. You're breaking your back, working the earth, the cursed ground. And he tells Eve, I will greatly increase the pain of your childbirth. So he's telling you, you're going to have severe birthing pains, labor pains, because of what you did, because you disobeyed me. And, obviously so will all of her offspring, because they will be imperfect as well. That's the deal. Everybody, all of Adam and Eve's children, grandchildren, great-grandchildren, and so on, are going to be imperfect, going to be born in sin, as every religion, Christian/Muslim/Judaic religion teaches. They teach we're all sinners just by virtue of the fact that we were born, right? It's like, sorry I was born, I'm a sinner. Boom. As soon as you pop out of the womb, you're automatically a sinner. Wasn't it one of these governing body idiots who actually said that little babies are enemies of Jehovah? Because they're sinners, because we're born in sin. Little baby is by their definition a sinner. So babies are enemies of Jehovah. Yeah, one of these guys actually said that. I can't remember who, but one of the governing body or one of their assistants, one of these top dudes actually said that in a talk. I mean, little babies are enemies of Jehovah. I guess Jehovah isn't too scared because a little baby doesn't make much, a very formidable enemy. But that was friggin' hilarious, along with so many other hilarious things. These guys should get together with Donald Trump and do like a traveling comedy show. I mean, the things that come out of these guys' mouths is just friggin' hilarious. It's free entertainment. Like, thank you guys. This is free entertainment. But anyway, getting back to my point, I digress again. So all of Adam and Eve's offspring, which means the entire human race, is supposedly born in sin, and also must die. They say that's why we die. That's why we don't live forever. That's why we grow old and die, because we are all imperfect sinners. Okay, now, but as far as the labor pains and the working, the ground being cursed, and Adam having to, sweat the brow of his face, and the earth will only produce thorns and thistles, that was not in the deal. Jehovah never said that would happen initially, before they disobeyed. He never told them, look, this and this and this. You have labor pains and the ground will be cursed. He never said that. He just said you'll die. It's like signing a contract, shaking hands and saying, all right, we made a deal, and then going back on your deal, changing the deal. Isn't that what Jehovah did? He changed the deal. First he said you're going to die. You eat from the thing, the bad tree, whatever, you're going to die. Okay, that's the deal. I get it. Makes sense. My house, my rules kind of thing, right? Right? I created this universe. You don't want to play by my rules? Fuck you. Get out of here. Out of the pool. I can buy that. And he said, you disobey and you eat from this tree and you'll die. Okay, fine. That's the rules. You break the rule, you're gone. But he never mentioned anything about suffering, about labor pains, about working a cursed earth that produces only thorns and thistles for the rest of your life. For the next 900 years, Adam is going to be sweating and plowing and toiling over the earth just to grow his daily bread. Every time Eve has a baby, She's going to go through these nightmarish labor pains. And remember, back in those days, people didn't have drugs. You know, well, ladies out there, who have given birth, most of you have probably given birth with the assistance of medication, of painkillers, right? They didn't have that back then. They didn't have that for a very long time. Women were giving birth, without any chemical assistance. Imagine what that must have been like. So Jehovah is laying all this on them after they broke his rules. Isn't that kind of a weaselly thing to do? Right? Isn't someone who makes a deal and then changes the deal? Isn't that kind of a weaselly move? It kind of makes Jehovah look like a weasel. Do you want to worship a God, serve a God who's a weasel? How can you ever rely on someone like that to keep their word? According to the Bible, Jehovah says if you obey him, you will live in a beautiful paradise forever. How do you know he might not change his mind? How do you know he might not go back on his word? Or add different conditions? You know? How do you know you can't trust someone like that? The Bible says Jehovah's trustworthy and honest and true, but here he is, basically screwing Adam and Eve over, after he already basically made a contract with them and said, look, you can live forever if you don't eat from that tree. If you eat from that tree, you're going to die. That's the rule. And then after they eat from the tree, it's like, oh, by the way, you're not just going to die. I have some other things in store for you as well. Yeah, you're going to suffer. You're going to fucking suffer for the rest of your life, Adam. Toiling away on the earth like a slave on the cursed ground. And by the way, Eve, every time you got to have kids because you're the mother of the human race. So it's not like, you got to have kids. And every time you have a kid, oh God, it's going to feel like it's going to kill you. It's going to feel like somebody's friggin', it's going to feel like a bowling ball is coming out of you. It's going to feel just awful. Yeah. So apparently to Jehovah, death was not enough, was it? No, he had to torture them. He had to make them suffer for the rest of their hundreds of years of life. Again, what does that say about the loving God Jehovah? Is he really a loving God, or is he more of a sadist? Because that seems to me like a sadist and a vindictive, prideful person who's like, you disobeyed me? Death is too good for you. No, I'm going to make you suffer. I'm going to torture your ass for the rest of your existence. That's the real Jehovah. And I didn't make that shit up. Read the Bible. It's in the first couple of chapters. You can read it for yourself, man. This is not made up stuff or an opinion. This is not my opinion. This is in the Bible. Jehovah told Adam and Eve, if you eat from the tree, you'll die. They eat from the tree, and it's like, yeah, you're going to die. But I got some other stuff for you that I didn't mention before. Pain, suffering. Because I'm a sadistic motherfucker who loves to torture people. And that's one thing. Now here's the second thing. Okay, if you go by the premise that we're all sinners, that we're all born in sin and we're all naturally imperfect, then again, we must pay the price for sin. We must all die. Okay? And that's what these religions will tell you. The big three conglomerate, Islam, Judaism, and Christianity. Why don't we live forever? Scientists can't figure out why we age and die. And they'll tell you, these believers will tell you, well, it's because you're a sinner. You're a born sinner. You were born an enemy of Jehovah. So you must pay the price. You must die. Okay. If that's true, I can buy it. Hey, it's Jehovah, his house, his rules, right? If I'm a sinner, nobody told me I was a sinner when I was born, but apparently I am. So I get it. If Jehovah doesn't want, contamination in his universe, then I guess I must die someday. I can buy that. But not everyone is punished equally, are they? If you ask these believers, well, okay, why is there so much suffering? Why are people born with birth defects? Why are people born without limbs? Why are people born blind? Why are people born mentally deficient in some way? Is that fair? Their answer will be, well, because we're imperfect, something in the development in the womb, something went wrong with their DNA, and that's why they came out that way. But again, that's not part of the deal, right? Jehovah didn't say physical or mental deformity is the punishment for sin. He said death is the punishment for sin. Why are these people punished like that? People who are blind, born blind, people who are born, maybe partially paralyzed or without limbs. Jehovah could easily prevent that. Easily. He created the whole universe. He created DNA. He could just snap his fingers and fix it, or just prevent it. Why does he allow those people to suffer more than the rest of us? Is that fair? Is that the sign of a just God and a fair God and a consistent God? The Bible says time and time again that Jehovah never changes, that Jehovah is consistent. He's just and fair and consistent. He never changes. He never changes. He's consistent. If Jehovah is anything, he's consistent. And yet, look at the punishment for sin that the human race suffers. Most of us can live a relatively normal life, whatever normal is, and then we die. But some people are born blind or deaf. Look at Helen Keller. She was born blind and deaf. How can Jehovah allow that? That's not fair. People are not being punished for being sinners equally. The punishment is inconsistent. Jehovah is punishing people inconsistently and unfairly and unjustly. You can say, yeah, they're imperfect. There's something went wrong with their DNA, but Jehovah could have fixed it or prevented it. Why should some people be punished more than others? Is that the sign of a just God and a consistent God and a fair God? I know a lot of people who are born with serious imperfections, born without limbs or blind, do still manage, and kudos to them. Amazing people. They still manage to live productive and happy lives, and that is amazing and awesome. Kudos to them. But if you asked any one of them, as fulfilled and happy as they may be, if you asked any one of them, hey, would you like to be able to see? Would you like to be able to hear? Would you like to have your arm back? Would you like to be able to move your legs? Every one of them would say, absolutely. Absolutely. Of course. So why does Jehovah allow that? If we're all sinners, sure, we're all being punished. I get it. But why are some punished more than others? Right? That's like if two guys, rob two different banks, and you sentence one guy to 5 years, and you sentence the other guy to 20 years. Where's the consistency in that? I mean, we see that in our justice system all the time, right? That's a whole other issue. Racism. But, prejudice, bias, bigotry. Yeah, we see that all the time, but that's man's doing. right? We can expect that from man. But from Jehovah, you're supposed to expect consistency and fairness, right? If two guys commit the same crime, you would think Jehovah would give them the exact same sentence. But no, you've got, the entire human race is being punished with pain and suffering, and then eventual death. And yet some suffer much more than others. When Jehovah could just fix it like that, why doesn't he do that? Why? I'll tell you why. Because he's a sadist. He is a sadist. He allows pain and suffering to go on when it's not necessary, and it was never part of the deal. He never said to Adam and Eve, until after the fact, he never told them, you know what, don't eat from that tree or you will suffer and then die. He never said that. He just said you will die. He said you will die. He didn't say you will suffer. You'll be tortured. But that's what we go through, isn't it? Everybody suffers. Everybody. I don't care who you are or where you are. Donald Trump suffers. He does. Rich people suffer too. Don't think that rich people don't suffer. The rich, the powerful, they suffer. Everybody suffers. Okay? And it was never part of the deal. So why does Jehovah allow it? I'm not saying he causes it, but he certainly allows it. We have diseases. We have deformities. We have, earthquakes, volcanoes, tsunamis, on and on. I won't say wars because war is man's doing. I'm not going to blame God. I'm not going to blame Jehovah or God for wars. That's on man. But all that other shit, man, floods, famines, people who don't have enough food to eat because the cursed ground is producing thorns and thistles, people who don't have enough clean water to drink, drought. And what about just the planet that we're on? It's this beautiful blue ball. If you look at it from space, you look at the pictures from space, it's this beautiful blue ball. But this beautiful blue ball is constantly trying to murder us, okay? The environmental system on Earth is constantly trying to kill us. Half the battle is just surviving the elements. How is it that a loving, fair, just God puts us all through this torture when he could easily prevent it? He could easily prevent it. Because he's a sadist. You could say, well, I'm sure every Christian and Muslim and Jew will defend him by saying, oh, well, he's not causing it. It's, Well, look at it this way. Let's say you're a nurse or a doctor in a hospital or wherever, and you have a patient who's in pain, patient who's in constant pain, and you have the painkillers. You can give them painkillers, right? And it's very easy for you. You don't have to climb Mount Everest to get the painkillers. You don't have to swim the ocean to get the painkillers. They're down the hall in the closet. They may even be in your pocket. Some nurses carry, medications in their pocket. All you have to do is pull it out of your pocket, give the guy a pill or an injection, hook him up to an IV. It takes like half a second. Okay? You're not causing that person's pain. But if you don't alleviate the pain, if you have the power to very, very, very easily, with almost no effort on your part, to alleviate that pain, and you do not alleviate the pain, wouldn't that make you a sadist? Why else would you not alleviate the person's pain? Unless you enjoy watching people suffer. And that makes you a sadist. Right? Sure, you didn't cause the pain. Right? But you could have very easily stopped it. And you didn't. Right? If you don't, then guess what? You are a sadist. Right? And that's the exact same situation with Jehovah. The penalty for sin is death, not suffering, not pain, not torture, just death. So all this suffering and pain and torture is completely unnecessary. Why would Jehovah allow it when he has the power to very easily, Very, very. He's supposed to be the Almighty God. He can do anything. Okay, he raised his son from the dead. Okay, he made the Red Sea part. Okay, he slaughtered 185,000 Assyrian soldiers in one night. You know, why did he slaughter them? I don't know. He could have just paralyzed them temporarily. He could have just melted all their weapons, but apparently he chose to slaughter them. Now, if he could do all that, if he could create a universe, can't he stop human suffering? Just like that? It would be very easy. But he's not doing that, is he? Because he's a sadist. Might explain why so many humans are sadists. Because if they were created in Jehovah's image, they must be sadists. That must explain why they're such sadists. I mean, sadism is not just the way people, humans express their sadism is not just like a minor sin of being born a sinner. You know, being born a sinner implies, well, you have these little flaws. Like you might have a problem with your temper. You know, you might be jealous. You might succumb to jealousy sometimes. If you see someone with something you like, you might, that you want, you'll be jealous, envious. Those are the kind of things you would expect from like someone who's born in sin. But the way people pursue sadism is like, it's like a sex drive. You could say, if you believe in Jehovah, you could say Jehovah gave us a sex drive. And we all have it because Jehovah wants us to reproduce, right? Well, sadism is just as strong. People are driven. It's a drive. It must have come from somewhere, right? And if people were created in Jehovah's image, that would explain where their sadistic drive comes from. Okay, enough on this, about all this depressing stuff. It's not going to solve anything, me talking about it. It's not going to make anyone feel better. So let's go on to just a couple of side notes here. Talking about the Garden of Eden story. When Jehovah kicked Adam and Eve out of the Garden of Eden, what's the first thing he did? Anyone? Bueller? He wanted to make sure they couldn't get back in, right? So he put the flaming blade of a sword turning round and round at the entrance to the garden. Sorry, I'm laughing. You'll see why I'm laughing here. I just can't stop laughing about this. It's so ridiculous. He put the flaming blade of a sword turning round and round and round at the entrance to the Garden of Eden. Now, can you tell me how the fuck Adam and Eve would even know what that is? What that was? Swords had not been invented yet. There were no swords. Adam and Eve had never seen a sword. They wouldn't know what it is. You could argue, well, maybe Jehovah could look into the future and see that man, who enjoys so much killing each other, how men love to kill each other so much that they would eventually invent weapons and swords, and Jehovah could see that swords would eventually come into existence because men love torturing and killing each other so much. But Adam and Eve couldn't see into the future. They didn't know what a sword was. So what's the point of having a flaming blade of a sword turning round and round at the entrance to the Garden of Eden? For all they knew, that could have been an invitation to come back in. But hey, look at that thing. I think Jehovah wants us to come back into the garden. And a flaming blade of a sword, too. It's like Adam and Eve, in the Garden of Eden, Adam and Eve enjoyed perfect environment, perfect temperature, so they wouldn't need to build a fire to keep warm. They didn't cook their food, right? They just picked it right off the trees, ate it raw. They didn't eat meat, so there was no need, to build a fire to cook anything. So there's a possibility that Adam and Eve at that point, would not even have known what fire was. They may not have ever seen fire. They had no use for it up until that point. So here's this flaming blade of a sword, something they'd never seen before. They have no idea what it is. You know, flaming. It's a blade of a sword and it's on fire. It's flaming. Two things that Adam and Eve may never, well, for sure they've never seen a sword. They definitely don't know what a sword is. Definitely. And as far as the flaming part, the fire part, they may have never seen fire before. To us, that would be a warning. We would know it's a sword. We all know what a sword is. A sword turning round and round. If you saw somebody, a centurion, standing with a sword, guarding a doorway or something, you would not try and enter that doorway because that's menacing. The guy has a sword, it means keep out. There's a guy with a weapon there, it means keep out. A sword is a menacing, it's a weapon, right? You know, this is a warning to stay away, right? We would know that. And a flaming blade of a sword would be even worse. It's like, dude, I'm not, if I try and pass through there, I'm going to catch fire, right? So you stay away. We would know that. But they wouldn't. Right? So why put the flaming blade of a sword in it? It makes no sense. It just shows you that the humans who made all of this up, the humans who wrote the Bible, it just shows you this is just one place where they fucked up. They fucked up. They had a brain fart. They didn't think about what I just talked about. You know? They didn't think about it. They fucked up. And there are many, many examples in the Bible, and I'm sure in every other religious book, where you'll find these many, many inconsistencies. Okay? This is not the only one. But this is a very amusing one. That's why I laugh all because it just cracks me up. It's just so ridiculous. Adam and Eve will be looking at this thing going, do you know what that is? I don't know. I don't know what that is. Flaming blade of a sword. Swords hadn't even been invented. You know? And as long as we're on the topic of inconsistencies and literary fuck-ups, in the movies this is called continuity error. If you have an error like that in a script of a movie, it's called a continuity error. And believe me, the Bible has a lot of continuity errors. So, and here's another one. This is one I've always wondered about. Moses climbs the mountain, finds the burning bush, gets the 10 Commandments. We all know that story. Excuse me. Oh, here's, say hello to Beethoven, by the way. Here's Beethoven. Somebody got this from the dollar store. I don't know why anyone would want to have a dollar store bust of Beethoven, but anyway. What was I saying? Yeah, how did Moses... Okay, let's say this is Moses, okay? Imagine a beard. Imagine like he's got... let's say the governing body has not given Jehovah's followers permission to wear beards yet. So here's clean-shaven Moses, okay? Now he climbs a mountain. And do you see any mountain climbing gear on Moses? I don't see any mountain climbing gear on him. He's got no ropes, he's got no hooks, he's got no spiky boots. How did Moses climb a mountain wearing nothing but sandals and a robe? I've been rock climbing, and I can tell you, it's not easy. It's not easy. Now you could say, well, he had incredibly strong fingers and toes, and he can just crawl his way up the mountain. Okay. I'll indulge you. Moses was a strong guy, let's say, and he somehow just climbed that mountain wearing nothing but a toga and sandals. Okay. How did he get back? How did he get back down again? Carrying two of these. 2 tablets of stone. And they weren't this size apparently. And even if they were, they would have been hard to carry. Even if he carried them both in one hand, that would only leave him one hand for climbing back down the mountain. Where's the reality in that story at all? 2 tablets of stone. Stone is heavy, man. 2 tablets. How and where did he carry them? If you ask any mountain climber with full gear, with hooks and spiky boots and oxygen and everything, to climb up a mountain, pick up 2 tablets of stone, and then climb back down again, they would tell you to go intercourse yourself. No one in their right mind would do that. Even somebody who's experienced and has full gear. Moses didn't have any gear. Okay? How in the heck did he climb up a mountain in sandals and a toga and climb back down again carrying 2 tablets of stone? Was he Superman? Well, it's been my personal experience. I don't know what you people believe, but it's been my all you Marvel Comics and Avengers fans, but it's been my experience that there is no Superman, and there never was. So I would say that if you've seen these inconsistencies, you've seen the ridiculousness of it all. It's not a secret anymore. We have the internet. People can go on the internet. Excuse me. You can look all this stuff up. If you still believe in all of this, if you still support these lies for Jehovah's, that goes for all of you, true believers out there. But specifically, if you're a Jehovah's Witness, if you still support the Watchtower Society, then it's on you. You can't say, well, I was brainwashed. This video should be more than enough to open your eyes. And if this video doesn't open your eyes after seeing these inconsistencies, these glaring inconsistencies and just injustices, and everything that's just wrong with the Bible, the whole Bible story, if you can't see that, then fuck you. It's on you now. Okay, from now on, it's on you. You can't claim, well, I was brainwashed. I was just doing what I was told. Yeah, that's what the Nazis said at Nuremberg. I was just obeying orders. Yeah. That still didn't stop them from getting... Right? That's not an excuse. That's not an excuse for anyone. I'm not just talking to Jehovah's Witnesses here. I'm talking to everybody. Obeying orders, following the what you're really doing is taking the easy way, right? You're taking the easy path, the path of least resistance. It's a lot easier to murder people and to fuck people over than to turn around to your masters and say, no. People out there, you need to start learning to say no. Even to your masters, especially to your masters, your bosses. Nobody is the boss of you. Nobody can tell you what to do. We are all on our own now. We are all on our own. You know? If you continue to be a sheep of this shitstem, this system, this evil system, this matrix, if you continue to be an obedient sheep, then it's on you. Ain't nobody gonna protect you anymore. There ain't no Superman. There ain't no Batman. There ain't no League of Justice. There ain't no Wonder Woman. Okay? You're on your own.